Greetings Boffins and welcome to the Boffin Lab. I'm Old Man Triton and this is a nano guide on how to hire a prospector and go mining in Star Citizen. So let's say that you've got to the point where you've got 150,000 roughly under your belt. What can you do from there? The next option is hiring vehicles to make more profit, and hiring the prospector has almost guaranteed returns. As long as you've got a block of time you can commit to using the prospector while you've got it hired. The minimum amount of time you can hire a prospector for is 1 day, so a couple of hours worth of mining will pay for it and get you a profit. You can hire a prospector from any of the refinery stations in the lower range points. You go to the service centre, go through to the mining support centre, and the hiring terminals are usually at the back. To hire a prospector for a day is just over 73,000 credits, but you can get a better deal if you hire for several days. This depends on how much money you've got available. I recommend that you only hire a prospector if you've got at least 2 hours of game time available to you. Every hour after that is free and clear profit.
Welcome.
When you get to the ASOP terminal, you'll discover that your prospector has to be delivered. It'll show a rental time in hours and minutes, but that turns into minutes and seconds later on. Deliver it at the location you're at and then retrieve it, and you should be able to board straight away. The Prospector is actually a very nice ship with great field of view, but its cargo bags are very vulnerable, as is the drill head. You need to be able to protect these or your mining run will be a bust. As for equipment, this is very helpful. You only need a helmet and a flight suit. Make sure you've had your food and water before you go, and you'll be back at the station to resupply quickly. I'm doing my pre-flight right now, and there's one habit I suggest every miner get into. Always activate your mining laser in the hangar bay and check that the cargo is at 0. You don't want to make a wasted run to the planet. Check that the cargo is at 0 and that you've refined your last load. It is possible for bugs and crashes to cause the cargo to appear full even at this stage, so it's always worth checking before you leave. I've arrived at Aberdeen and I am diving on the planet rather than warping to one of the surface installations. This allows you to find completely untouched resources, but it takes a little extra time. It also makes it harder for enemies to intercept you. One thing to note is that the Prospector takes a little while to slow down once it gets to atmosphere. So as soon as you hit the atmosphere, wind back on the speed and make sure that you're able to stop before hitting the ground. If all goes wrong and you need to stop suddenly, flip the ship end for end, use your thrusters and your afterburner to quickly stop before you reach the ground. I've reached about 4,000 meters and I've already started pulsing to look for signals. The first signal comes up straight away and it's big because it's detectable with very little pierce. See my tutorial on how to use the scanner, link above. But as we get closer to this rock, we notice that it is very visible and very large, and I drop out of quantum mode to get close to it. The rock becomes visible as we get closer, and the size is quite significant, which is why we were able to detect it from so far away. This becomes an issue with the default setup of the Prospector, which you cannot change because it's a hire. Your mining laser only has so much power, and it cannot mine very large rocks. As you scan the rock, you'll see that the first stat is the mass, and it says 56,000 plus kilos. That's impossible for you to break alone. It is possible for multiple prospectors to work on the same rock and break it together. You will probably have to break it in multiple stages. you need to look for rocks that are about 11,000 and smaller to mine. I've found another collection of ore nodes, and the first thing I do is press M to bring out the mining arm and start scanning the rocks. I'll speed up the progress because this is not very entertaining, but it is incredibly necessary. You need to plan out your mining operation in order to get the best yield. Look through the different types of rocks and know the materials that are involved. I will show you a list of the best materials to mine. They will become courtesy of Red Monster Gaming once again, link in the description below. The top quality ore is Quantanium, but that comes with added risks. As soon as Quantanium goes into your hold, you got 25 minutes to get back to the refinery deck and get it out of your hold or your ship explodes, so be careful mining it. Bexolite, gold and taronite are the next best options for you. You should try to concentrate on filling your hold with them. Pick a percentage number as to how much percentage is in a rock that you're willing to pick up. I tend to aim for 30% or better for gold, taronite and bexolite, and 45 to 50% or better for anything agricium, beryl, borax, hephaestonite or laranite. I completely ignore aluminium, copper, corundum, iron and quartz, titanium and tungsten, as the money that you make from them is almost not worth it. Now I've found a ore node here that is probably just on the edge of mineability. It says impossible, but that's not a guarantee as to whether you can mine it. You can control the power of your laser by how close you are and the power that you put in the laser intensity. Getting closer to the rock increases the power of the laser. You could also add a second laser from another vessel to crack the rock if you need to. I am testing to see whether this rig has sufficient power to break this rock, and it looks like it does not. The combination of the size of the rock and the resistance of the rock make it impossible. So I choose a new target. Rather than spend a lot of time finding the best quality ore to demonstrate how to mine, I've decided to mine this hephaestonine rock. Hephaestonine has a big advantage in that hephaestonine tends to clump together, and so you can more likely get pure hephaestonine fractured pieces when you finish mining it. Turn on your laser by left clicking, and that's a toggle. It turns on with one click and you don't have to hold it down. Use the Alt key and the middle mouse wheel to change the laser intensity and ramp up the power. Try to make it climb towards the green zone. Once it's in the green zone, the rock starts to fracture. But I experience a problem here, and this seems to be related to the current patch. Notice that the outline of the node seems to be flicking between bright yellow and a dull beige. This is possibly a symptom of the problem that I'm experiencing, and that is that the rock sometimes loses focus, and when it loses focus it doesn't receive any charge power. I get almost all the way through and suddenly everything loses power. We're currently working with the bug hunting community to try and work out what's causing this, but if you have this frustration, I can understand your pain completely. I try again, ramp up the power again, adjust my position, move the laser to a new location, and bring the laser back into the green zone to cook the rock. Now, there is something very important that I do when the rock reaches full power. I back off as soon as it's ready to blow. That's because you're still technically exploding a rock, and even if it has not gone into the red zone, you can do damage to your shield, your mining head, and particularly your cargo bags. Those are the three things that are usually damaged when you break a rock of any size. Next thing to do is scan through the pieces, and that can take a little bit of time, but as you saw with the first piece, it was 100% hephaestonine. Hephaestonine is a second tier ore, and I don't actually want it as my primary loot, but I'm certainly willing to fill up the hold with hephaestonine if I can get something, if I can't get something better. Scan everything to find all the best rocks. There's another hephaestonine rock that's completely pure, and then look through the other rocks in the field that you're going to mine. Plan out which ones you're going to pick up in order, because you've only got a limited amount of space and you want to make sure you have the best money in your hold for your trip. I found something of a rarity here in that I found a rock that doesn't need to be cracked that has both bexolite and taronite in it. The total comes to over 50%, so I consider it worth picking up. Swap to the extraction mode and suck it into your cargo hold. The closer you are to the rock, the faster it is extracted. As there is nothing better here in this field, I go on to collect the rest of the hephaestonite that I can find, though I'm going to get a very decent haul of hephaestonite. Though I would not consider this particular run to be a very high paying one. But when we see at the end, it's not a bad one overall. I top off the hold with some more hephaestonite, and I've got about 16 to 18 SEU of hephaestonite and some taronite and some bexolite in my hold. Pack away the mining arm, and it's time to head back to the refinery station. When you get back to the refinery station, you can store your ship, and you'll find the refinement and processing center usually near the store. There's an ore sales section where you can directly sell the ore that you've mined without any further activity. Select your prospector from the list, and it looks at the contents and tells you how much you're going to get. Now, I didn't get a very great haul because it was mostly hephaestonine, but I still got 37,000 credits. Ignore the plasma fuel, quantum fuel, and inert materials that are listed on the chart. They're not sold at all. You won't be selling your fuel. The other option is to refine your ore with the refinement process. You set up a job by entering the refinery and selecting your vehicle. Set up a work order. I suggest using the Dinux solvanation. It's the cheapest option that gives you the best yield, but it does take a lot of time. Once again, I'm not going to refine the copper, but I've ticked all the other ores and got a quote. It's going to take me over 25 hours to refine the ore, but it's only going to cost me about 4,100 credits. When that's ready, I can deliver that ore into a transport ship and take it to market. It cannot be sold at the refinery and must be sold at one of the cities. I would suggest considering hiring a transport and selling it when it's ready. Whether you sell the ores up front or whether you hire a transport and refine it, it's dependent on how much cash you have available to you. It's a decision to make in advance. In the meantime, that's the end of this tutorial. Please like and subscribe. Have a look at my Patreon. Good hunting and have fun in space.